President, members of the board, good afternoon, everybody. It's interesting for me, it's still kind of weird to be able to be here and the sun's still out and shining and, kind of ready to jump out there, but we got some good business and good work to do. This work session, we will start with Mrs. Young, and she will walk you through the budget and the budget work that she's and the team have worked on to get ready to submit. Our budget is due on the 28th at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? But we need to go through an approval process and answer any questions, and she can also let you know, and Mrs. Romero as well, about extra money or federal if we need some questions afterwards. So because we do have some title applications on the regular work session agenda. So if you don't have any questions or anybody needs anything right now,
Ready?
Antoinette, it's all yours.
Okay. Madam President, members of the board, like I was joking with you before we officially started, I won't go every single, it's a 135-page report. You really only have to worry about a few chunks of it, so I will highlight those areas for you. I will tell you that we didn't make any, well, actually we probably made one change that wasn't by necessity. If you look at page 2, let me back up 1 minute because I have a couple of you that are brand new. In this report, there's 2 columns. One says budget and one says projected. Budgeted is this year's year-to-date what we spent. So it's not even what we budgeted for this year, which I wish it would be, because then it'd give you a more accurate picture as to what I'm increasing and what I'm keeping the same, but it's just what we've spent year-to-date. So in some of the salaries and benefits, it looks like I am increasing the benefits by, what was the percent you asked me the other day, Mr. Young?
45%.
Yeah, but it's not, it's because we still have all those summer checks to pay out to teachers. That's still a big chunk of what will continue to be paid out this year. I didn't really raise the benefits by that much, but this report can give that misinterpretation. This is the actual report that goes up to PED in a CSV file, not so as pretty as this one works for you. But on page 2, what I want to point out is the one thing that we did add by choice was a computer science teacher. So you'll see one more FTE in that teacher's grade 1 through 12 line item in next year's budget than this year. Okay? Then if you move down a little bit in the instructional assistants, I have put 5 additional instructional assistants there. That was not by necessity. We are anticipating our Idea B, which is our special education federal funds, to be cut pretty significantly. And so the majority of our special ed educational assistants are paid out of there right now. We're going to have to start moving more of them into operational is what it's looking like. We're anticipating a cut for this year coming any day now. Last week, Priscilla submitted an RFR, which is a request for reimbursement to PED, and they told us we didn't have enough money left. But our budget shows we have enough money. So that probably means we're about to get a budget reduction bar. They did this to us last year too. It was June 6th when we got it. So you've already spent the money for the whole year, and then they send you a memo and say we're taking $200,000 away. So then we have to take it and shift it into the operational budget. So this will be the 2nd year in a row that they've done that to us. So I'm kind of anticipating for next year that we're going to have less funds to work with. And we wanted to plan ahead for that and not be caught later. The other big thing that you guys already know about, obviously, was the insurance increases. Not both, but medical, dental, and vision all went up this year for the first time in a long time. And then our risk insurance went up pretty significantly. Hold on, I have some things highlighted. Let me see where I'm going to have you go next. If you look at page 11, registered nurses, again, out of necessity, We have had 2 of our nurses paid out of COVID money, or our money, that is expiring on September 30th. So we will be moving those 2 positions back into operational. Okay, those are positions we actually added when the pandemic hit. We needed the extra hands on deck. But we have so, how do I want to say, such high needs in the district that we don't feel like we can cut those positions. We have a lot of kids with medical issues that need to have nurses on site, not just the 2 nurses we had before trying to cover the entire district. So we are moving those back, or not back into operational, but into operational.
We did have to move them during spring budget. Natalie and I were in a session where it sounded like they said, well, if you designate that money at the beginning of the year, even though it ends in September, then you can use it the rest of the year. But Antoinette got verification that that was wrong information. And so we were hoping that we would be able to use at least 1 more year of the COVID money, but yes, it had to be moved into operational, those 2 positions.
Yeah, so we're having to make a lot of moves this year. The next thing I'll talk to you guys about is going back to page, well, I have it highlighted, but I already kind of talked to you about the liability insurance going up. But I'm going to jump to the 2700s, 11,2700, which is starting on page 33. I also got our transportation budget on Friday night?
Friday
Thursday night?
at 6 o'clock. So.
It was late. Anyways, they cut my transportation budget by $200,000. So if you take the $200,000 they cut it, plus the salary increase and the benefit increase, I was short about $400,000 in transportation. So the other budget that you approve, it starts on page, well, one of the other budgets that you approve, starts on page 44, actually 43, and it's 15,200, and what that is that's our, what we get into operational, because now they made me put it in a separate account, 15,200 from property taxes. So a piece of the property taxes comes into this fund. Last year, I believe, was the first year they made us put it into the separate fund because they want to keep closer track of what we're doing with that money. Some of the things we can use that money for are building improvements, so maintenance items, and the other thing we can use it for is transportation. Last year, I used most of 15,200 to help with our HVAC issues. After having to have the MERV 13s in our units for those 3 years of COVID, our units really were in trouble. We spent a lot of money repairing units. At first, I thought maybe the last company that we had maintaining our units maybe hadn't maintained them like we thought. But after I thought about it for a little bit, I figure it's probably because they made us put those high filtration filters in there, and it just clogged up those units so fast with all the dust and stuff out here. So last year I had used most of that money to help with that. Next year I'm not going to be able to help maintenance with that because I'm going to have to use it for transportation. So you'll see that I put all of everything except for salaries and benefits out of transportation into this 15,200. So fuel, tires, bus parts, the software to run the crosswalk, thank you, the bus tracking system, route system, there's office supplies, everything in there. I was able to leave maintenance with this where is it, 54311 at the very top of the page. I was able to leave them a whole $50,000 to help them a little bit with whatever their SB9 budget might not cover. But so that was another hit that I took just on Friday. So I've just been readjusting as we get more and more good news. Going back to, I'm trying to think what other good news we got. Oh, the other piece, what I did move into operational from transportation was a piece of Dr. Buckley's salary for overseeing the department was out of there, and a piece of my salary was out of there, and I had to move both of those pieces of us out of transportation and back into operation. So I did that and then moved all those supplies out to help balance that budget. So, just trying to think of all the changes that I had to make, like I said, that were not by choice, but by necessity. Today, as I'm working on uploading my budget into OBMS, I'm getting more errors. Some account codes that we've used for many, many, many years are not valid anymore. So I'm thinking, as Natalie does her application, I'm going to have to be moving some more people out of those accounts that we've paid out of those accounts for a long time. I don't know if the feds are coming down on the state and telling them that we're using funds for things that are not allowable. I wish they'd communicate that with us a little bit sooner so that I can be prepared and make those moves. But like I said, it was some salaries we've paid out of there for many, many years. And all of a sudden, when I go to upload, it's telling me that's no longer a valid chart of accounts. So I'm thinking they're going to make us move those out too. So as I present this budget to you for your approval, I will tell you, especially those of you that are new, even after I submit it to PED, they often will make me make more changes. So and I've argued with them over the years, and former superintendents have argued with them, but our board approved it this way, they want it this way, and they don't care. They don't care. So just so you know, there may be more changes that I have to make. I will communicate them. If it's anything that is out of the ordinary or really crazy, I will make sure I let you guys know. I don't anticipate any of that this year. Just as I said, they're really late in releasing her application, so as she gets them, we're finding that they're cutting our funds, they're changing these things like, we can no longer pay for this out of there and that out of there when we've been doing it historically. So this may change a little bit more. Those are really the main things that we had to move out. I will let you know that I worked hard to make sure that, well, not just me, the team, I don't want to make it sound like it was all me, but we worked hard to make sure that we were able to fund after school programs for next year. That was something we heard both at the community meeting and our superintendent's advisory committee. We've been hearing it from staff, from parents. They've really enjoyed having these after school clubs for the kids. And even though the PED, we lost about $1 million in funding, we got $1 million to fund that for this year, and that's going away for next year. We were able to make it work with our carryover to be able to fund that for next year. I don't know that we'll be able to continue it going forward, but at least one more year, we're going to be able to do that. I would like to mention that the reason that we're being able to do these things is by using our cash carryover from last year. I know at one of our meetings, this $2.4 million that I just have in my back pocket was being thrown out there a lot. That's why it's there for times like this. First of all, we have to get through summer payrolls, and we have to wait for the state to finish reimbursing us on all of our federal money dollars. So we have that money loaned out to them. So I have to always have some cash carryover. And thank goodness I do, because now we can at least kick these cans. I'm going to call them down the road a little bit more. And then next year, we'll have to see where we're at. We're hoping, fingers and toes crossed, for a big mid-year increase in the unit value. And then that will help. So we said we'll talk and we'll reevaluate next year. We're hoping to not have to make any cuts, but.
Can you explain that just a little bit more in the mid-year?
So every year in January, the PED reevaluates the units throughout the districts, and they see if they hit the unit value correctly way back in April when they're trying to project it or not. So some years we get an increase, some years we get a decrease. This year they kept it the same. They didn't increase it or decrease it. So this year, because of their new reporting system and everything being such a disaster, I'm just going to say, poor Kennard Hibbler, our power school person, has put in more hours than any human should ever have to work this year trying to get those reports correct and uploaded. They're not confident in those numbers. And so I'm pretty sure they were very conservative in the unit value because of that. And so I'm hoping Once everything solidifies and they get 40-day counts next year, that will get a good mid-year increase. Fingers crossed. I'm trying to be optimistic.
And a small piece of that is also that holding back on the increase of the unit value now with the hopes of an increase in January. It's the NOVA reporting system across the state that isn't working well for the PD. So they don't have solid numbers to go off of. But again, another piece of that is the 180-day rule and making the school districts expand and holding back some money. So you guys have been privy to some of that presentation in the regional board meeting or some other board meeting. So you're going to keep that in mind as well. But I think there'll be an increase. I don't know if it'll be huge, but yeah.
A couple of other things that we did that I want to make sure I mention. Also out of COVID money, we had hired a teacher to grade all of the kiddos that are doing online, so that's just her dedicated job to grade those assignments, and we were paying for her out of that ARP money, so she'll also move back into operational. Before that, we were having, buying this teacher's prep and that teacher's prep and the other teacher's prep, and it wasn't working so well. So this system has worked a lot better. So we're going to keep that position, and we moved it to operational as well. Last year we added one field trip for each grade level, district-wide, out of operational money. We haven't been able to do that for many, many years before that, and we did keep that in for next year as well. So we were able to not cut anything and meet all of our requirements and add what we had to add, at least for one more year. So I think those are the main things in the operational budget. You also have, this is so many pages because like I said, it's every budget. The 13,000 I've already kind of talked with you about. We didn't add anything. I had to move some people out. I also had to move just yesterday, I had to move out a teacher and an EA from the preschool program back to operational. Because with the salaries and the raises, we're not going to have enough to cover all of the teachers anymore. So, but just one, so that wasn't too bad. And part of their bus driver. They only give us $33,000 for transportation for preschool. And that doesn't even cover the driver's full salary. So I had to move out, I think, 0.18 of his salary and benefits. So it's been a jingle board. Go ahead.
Add something on that? Madam President and members of the board, I think it's significant to really, as we think about budgets, the preschool is a perfect example of what's happening in the federal programs budgets also. We were awarded over $3 million for a 3-year, I think it was over $5 million for 3 years of New Mexico pre-K funds last year. And they budgeted it out, right, for the 3 years. But when we have to talk about increases in benefits and then their salaries, that takes the money. So the money doesn't go as far. Right. So we're having to compensate through, the operational budget. And that is what is significantly happening in the federal programs. But you see it in the preschool budget too. I was shocked when she said, I got to move. Right. So that's it's huge.
We got the exact same amount. So last year, the only difference was last year they gave us an extra $90,000 because we added the 3-year-old classrooms, and so they gave us an extra $90,000 to furnish those classrooms. Other than that, the amount was the exact same, but I still had to move because, like she said, you increase the salaries, you increase the benefits, the money doesn't go as far, and they're also going to have less supply money than they had last year.
But you still have a need. You still have the same amount of kids you're servicing, the teachers,
it's it puts us in a bind. So. The 15,200 I already talked about with you. That's another one that's under you. Food service is looking good. Thank goodness their participation has been up this year, as well as we're getting those matching state funds to make sure every kid gets free lunch. So if they're a reduced kiddo or a full pay kiddo, the state pays us for that. So there's another fund in here, so the 21,000 is our regular USDA school lunch program, and the 21,100 is our, the state match part of that. So right now in the state match part, I'm just putting food and non-food. I am not moving salaries and benefits in there yet. And that's another, and I hesitate to, look at maybe even increasing salaries in that department, because this year that state match barely passed the legislature, if you guys were watching. And so I'm still kind of leery to start putting staff in there and then them take it away from us. So I haven't done that yet. The 22s is athletics. It's just, I base it off of what they brought in revenue, what I'm anticipating their carryover to be for next year, and their revenue to be for next year, and then they tell me what line items they needed in, and they allocate it out to all of the different teams.
Excuse me for just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Didn't anticipate this.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You keep going, I'm listening.
Okay. 23,000s are the student activity funds, so that's the ones that the kids raise the money for. The kids decide what they're gonna spend the money on. We're just kind of their bank account. And I oversee to make sure they're following the rules.
Yeah.
I get to be the bad guy on those. So they get, the sponsors get to tell the kids all the time, Miss Young says we can't do that. That's right, I want to keep you out of jail. Medicaid budget was okay, I didn't have to move anybody out of there. We've been kind of nervous with our Medicaid budget all year this year. It's been pretty tight, but we made it, and it doesn't look like we'll have to move anybody out, so that was good news. Medicaid is a hard one because we bring in revenue based on what we bill, and you don't know year from year what services you're gonna offer, what are gonna be billable, what's not gonna be billable. So that one's kind of hard, but we made that one work too. I'm gonna come all the way back, we talked about to the 31,100 is the other one that you guys are looking at when you're approving, and that's our GO bond budget. It's pretty basic. What I anticipate we're gonna carry over, the revenue that the state tells me we're going to bring in. So the state puts that number in there for me based on our mill levy taxes. And then all of that is pretty much going to, it'll go back to software and hardware, which is where most of it is, and then that's where we'll do our FMP projects out of as well. So you'll see a big chunk in construction services for the kinds of repairs we need to do. 32,100 is state match. Last year we purchased that activity, well, it came this year, I ordered it last year, the new activity bus. We weren't having enough activity buses to get all of our teams where they need to go, and the route buses don't have under storage. And that was something that makes me nervous as a, being around sports and knowing all the equipment they have to carry, that if the buses were in an accident and the equipment's in the bus with the kids, that something could go flying and hurt somebody. So I had allocated it for that, and that is also where you guys approved for us to order the box truck for shipping and receiving out of, which I don't know when that's gonna get here. I need to check on that, because we ordered that a long time ago too. 31,701 is maintenance budget, Lincoln's. Again, that number is set by tax mill levy. So the PED puts that number in there for me, what they're anticipating we're gonna bring in, and then I allocate it to the different places that Lincoln needs, building repairs, equipment, all that kind of stuff. A big chunk of that budget goes to HVAC. It's crazy how much that the HVAC costs us each year. 31,703 is the state match. Oh, I already said that one. I skipped it, sorry. I jumped ahead. The 31,200 was the one I was talking about, and I said it was the state match. The 31,200 are those, we had a couple of special appropriations. 2 years ago, we had a special appropriation from the legislature for maintenance departments to buy maintenance equipment. Lincoln has almost finished spending all of that. He had about 3 years to spend it, and they've done a good job. He's been replacing vacuums and floor scrubbers and tractors and lawnmowers and that kind of stuff that we haven't had the money in his normal budget to replace for a long time. So that's been nice. The other two amounts in that budget are the money they gave us for CTE that we've been fixing the lifts and the welders and that kind of stuff with. And then they gave us that security allocation that we put the fence up at Moriarty Middle School with. And we still have a little bit left in both of those budgets. So that's what's in there. And then the very last one is the $47,000, which is the debt service account. And that is basically the money comes in from the taxes, and that's where we pay back our bonds out of. Nothing else happens in that account. And so that one's also pretty cut and dry. The income comes in, I have to put exactly how much I'm going to be paying out in bond payments, exactly how much I'm going to pay out in interest, and the rest of it goes into what they call a reserve account, and it just sits there until our next payment's due. So they have it calculated to where we always have enough in there to make those big payments every 6 months. That's all I have, unless anybody saw anything that stood out to them that they might have questions on. Did I forget anything that you guys can think of?
You and your team are miracle workers.
We try. We really try to make sure that we get everything that the kids need covered, and to make that a priority and not have to cut. We cut in this district for a lot of years, and it was hard. It was really hard. So we're hoping not to have
to do that again. No, go back there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So.
Yeah, you know, when we get our unit value and then all the news about the huge increases on the insurances, and then cuts to House Bill 2 or whatever other bills that were passed, and you see things like out of school time cut, you know, and it causes panic, but the internet is able to go work her computer, her work her magic, come back to us with some numbers. We still may be short. Yeah, some panic.
There's panic in there, yeah.
But it's you know, it's good that we're able to, and you know, you mentioned kicking the can down the road.
It'll be okay.
I think I've heard that phrase for many years. Sometimes the can stops, and that's when the cuts were happening, right, for those years. But you know, when we have community members, staff members that, you know, are asking for this specific thing, then it's able to squeeze it out from somewhere and still make it
work.
Budget, the balance. So.
And we try to be very conservative because we know that we've been there before and we don't want to get back there again. So we're also not, you know, blowing money just to blow it. So.
See things like out of school time cut, you know, and it causes panic, but the internet is able to go work her computer, her work her magic, come back to us with some numbers. We still may be short. Yeah, some panic.
There's panic in there, yeah.
But it's you know, it's good that we're able to, and you know, you mentioned kicking the can down the road.
It'll be okay.
I think I've heard that phrase for many years. Sometimes the can stops, and that's when the cuts were happening, right, for those years. But you know, when we have community members, staff members that, you know, are asking for this specific thing, then it's able to squeeze it out from somewhere and still make it
work.
Budget, the balance. So.
And we try to be very conservative because we know that we've been there before and we don't want to get back there again. So we're also not, you know, blowing money just to blow it. So.
Comments or questions?
I know it's a lot of it.
You're very good at what you do, so thank you.
that uncomfortable pause, right? So, teaching is wait time, right? All day, everybody back there knows about, we all know about wait time, right?
The hang time.
Yeah, the wait time in teaching, because then somebody will have a question or anything like that. No? All right, so Antoinette, if you just, to finish it off, the process now, right?
So the process now is I've been working on uploading my file all day. I have 7 more errors to fix. I had 90 some a while ago, but I'm down to 7. I have to submit many more reports. So I submit the actual budget into OBMS. I have to upload the calendars that everybody's been talking about. We didn't have to do 2 because we're already over the 180 days. I have to submit a link to all of our board policies. I have to submit a form that Todd signs. It's like a yada yada whatever, numbers, letters, form. I don't remember what it's called right off the top of my head. That Todd has to sign certifying that we're paying everybody the mandated minimum salaries, the teacher minimums, the EA minimum, the 15, nobody gets paid less than $15 an hour. We have to send that we're certifying that. I have to send that we're certifying that we have not that we don't have any waivers this year, and we're not anticipating needing any waivers next year, meaning class size waivers. Okay. So hopefully sooner, I'm hoping, if I can get this submitted tonight. But if not, Monday morning at 8 o'clock, my budget analyst will call me, which I found out less than a month ago that I have a new one. And I just got her name, or his name, I'm not sure if it's, because with names anymore, you can't really tell. On Monday, I believe, yesterday, introducing themselves, they will contact me, usually via like a Zoom or a Google Meet or something. On Monday at 8 o'clock, they'll go through my budget and they'll ask me questions. They'll tell me things that they see that they don't think are correct. And I've had years where it's taken a few hours, and I've had years where it's taken all day long. So it depends on the budget analyst and those kinds of things. Last year it was pretty quick, so we'll see how this year goes. But they have, like I said in the past, they have made me change things. I don't anticipate that happening this year, but we'll see. Then after that, and so they won't officially approve it till June 30th at literally 5 o'clock. I don't know why, but between now and then, Natalie and I are crazy people getting phone calls and emails, and sometimes at 5 o'clock on a Friday, if you don't change this right now, we're zeroing out your budget.
Oh my gosh.
On June 30th, that time, it was like craziness. So as her budgets go through their process, we find out things like, oh, well, this isn't she can't put this in that budget anymore, and then I have to shift it. So that's why I say it's still kind of a fluid thing until literally June 30th at 5 o'clock. So I'm hoping June 29th this year, since the 30th is a Saturday.
June 30th is a Saturday. Yeah.
But
During budget season last week,
they do work on Saturdays.
So, okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Natalie, I know you sent out a video, but you want to address the title applications?
Yes, sir. May I also, would now be a better time than the board meeting to go over the fine arts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
You can pretend it's not time.
Your video is very thorough, though.
We can start with Title I and Title III, the videos that I did send you all, Madam President and members of the board and Mr. Superintendent. As you saw in the video, Title I was just a little bit over $700,000 with $320,000 of carryover. We did have to make some changes to that budget as Mrs. Young referenced kicking up the can. Our federal programs budgets are dwindling due to the increases in salaries and benefits over the last few years. I think we figured out a total of almost 15% in 3 years. Is that what we decided? So that's a huge hit when we're talking about, even $700,000 is not a small chunk of change, but just the continuing of program support, correct? So we do support those budgets. Our Title I is instructional coaches and the majority of staffing. We do have to have that small portion for parent set aside. And then Title III budget, as I explained in the video, we have not participated in Title III in multiple years, and that quite frankly is due to the restrictions on spending the money. However, with our allocation being just over 17,000 and our ability to utilize about a little bit over 15,000 in carryover, that brings it up to $30,000. And I just felt like, in the team, we felt like we could get some quality professional development and language acquisition that benefits all kids. So, and that is one thing that Title III funds will reimburse us for. So we're going to start very early with our teachers, trying to get as many trained in specifically GLAD strategies as possible. So that's what the majority of those dollars will be used for. So those are those two applications. We were hopeful, and I was ready to stay up all night and all day to get Title II and Title IV for your approval. However, they were not opened. We thought we had Title IV ready to go, but I did have the application, and they changed it, and all of my stuff went away. So that was a sad story. So tonight on the agenda, we Title I, Title III, and the Elementary Fine Arts application will be for your approval. Elementary Fine Arts, I just put together just a little presentation for you. So our goals and development of the fine arts in the district. Our teachers work on skill acquisition, cultural awareness, creation of work and performing music and drama. It incorporates skills it incorporates motor skills, language skills, social skills, decision making, risk taking. And then our goal is that all students will be given opportunities to build social and emotional learning skills and learn to appreciate nuances of art, often by attending to the way that emotions are expressed in painting, sculpture, drawing, music, and dance. This is a continuation of the program from last year, working off of that application. Our teachers were really able to incorporate social emotional learning through that elementary elective, and lesson plans were geared toward bringing those skills out in music, and then being able to, we have our elementary, I think Route 66 did a presentation Snow White this year, and that was through the music class. And so they're working on a lot of different skills, and this is what the Fine Arts Grant will provide for. So we serve 1,250 students because it does serve elementary through middle school. So the FTE that we can pull out of this funding is 2 music teachers, an art teacher, 3 educational assistants, 2 periods of band at the middle school, 6 periods of art, and 6 periods of guitar at the middle school. So not all of those positions are paid by the Fine Arts funding. However, it does go towards all of these FTEs. And there's a little bit of money It's about $7,000 total that supplies and materials are provided for. And we divide that up by student location. So for instance, Moriarty Elementary might get a few more dollars than South Mountain Elementary because they have 100 more students for supplies. That's a very short presentation, but that's what Fine Arts provides for our students in the district. I stand for any questions about any of the applications or grants that you looked at.
I thought it was well presented.
No, my brain's going 1,000 miles a minute, sorry.
Are you sure? Yeah.
It was nice to read about the Snow White in your report, though. That was, yeah. How many kids were involved in that?
There were a handful. It was the music teachers club. So
Okay.
there was about, I would say about 6 to 10.
Okay.
That's what I had a question about earlier, sorry.
No,
I missed that down. You were talking about the after-school club being funded. Which ones are being funded, or is there ones that are also, like, if there's a chess club or a video game club or something like that, do those all get a portion of that, or
So,
are they
Ms.
volunteer?
Romero might be able to speak to that better than I do. Sorry, I have them right in their space, but they're trying to work on that computer. We are paying for all of the clubs at like the elementaries and the middle schools. We're not, so the coaches don't get paid out of those funds, like the athletic coaches. But we have clubs of pretty much every
Everything
you
that they
can
want.
think of.
Yeah.
If they could
And
find
it's volunteer?
a teacher to teach it, well, the teachers get paid. That's what that funding is for. The teachers are getting paid for their time, and we are providing the materials for their clubs. So it was a significant amount for them. I just wanted to add real quick too on Ms. Romero's fine arts application, just because so many of you are new. Fine arts is in our operational budget. It's part of our 910B5 that we get funded on. So that's why it produces units for us. Not enough to cover all those positions like she said. I think it's funny that it's in there, but they still make her apply for it. So we just have to justify, I guess, what we're using that money for. So.
This past year, Madam President and Member Lossing, this past year for OOST or out of school time, the funding was very specific, or to get the funding, we had to meet some requirements that we necessarily might not have to meet moving forward because we're going to be funding after school clubs ourselves. So for instance, clubs had to have an academic intervention or enrichment component that was tied to content standards. Each club had to be a minimum of 2 hours in length, and for every enrichment club, there had to be an intervention club. So if we provided an enrichment opportunity, we had to provide an intervention or tutoring opportunity for students that were showing deficits in various skills. We might not have to meet all of those requirements because the funds were not taken from OOST this year. So those were the components of the types of clubs that staff would ask to start. And we paid, each club this past year got up to $500 for supplies and materials. Year prior, we had to put a cap this year because sometimes supplies and materials just kept going. So this year there was a $500 cap for supplies and materials, unless it was, for instance, the cooking club. We had a cooking club at Moriarty Middle School that was very, very, very successful, and that one, the club sponsor, the teacher did an amazing job working with students, and so she went shopping every week.
Okay. How's that?
No, good question. Yeah. So, again, like Emily said, it's our decision to fund these programs, so that gives us a little more say, or some movement, to tailor it, so that's always nice to have that freedom as well. As well, yeah, we don't have, the stipulations that they put on with some other things, that we were required to sign this year, so, okay, good, all right. All right, anything else, ladies? Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. You summarized it so well in, what, 45 minutes or so, and I don't know how many hours of work in 45 minutes, right? Yeah, and so but it still, we'll be marching on until June 29th, right? June 29th. And again, hopefully those title, which ones again was it? Title II and Title IV, sooner than later, so we can budget for those.
And I did find out today, just a little while ago, that Idea B is going to be, it was actually, a component of it was opened up today, this afternoon. It's going to be released in 3 phases, and it looks very, very different. But we don't have a number.
Yeah. So IDBs for special education and funding all that, okay, all right.
We'll break it down more when we get those. Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Last call, budget questions, comments for your first go around. For your first go around. Okay.
Is there something we should know that we're missing? It's usually
No,
it's asked.
it's, I'm learning with you for a lot of this, yeah. Yeah, most definitely, right? Most definitely. All right, so we'll move to the next part of the work session. And we will I am going to put up here, let me make sure this one. A few weeks ago, there was a request for capital AE to provide some other more specific options in regard to the FMP, and this is the option list that, I'm sorry, we didn't work on this projector, I think, a little bit, but this was what was presented. Thanks, Nat. Appreciate it. If you take a look, oh, there you go. Does that help?
Much better.
That's much better, right? That's much better. So option 1, which was a consolidation of the middle schools, and then option 8E, demolition of all buildings on the EDS property, and then hire an architect for a consultation moving forward with to that property can be used for. That's not on this second set of options. And what was added is right here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor.
Six.
6. And 6 is to work on all priority 2 repairs. Okay. This is the first set of options that was presented, and then it moves to this. Okay? All right. So I will call this option number 1, and this will be option number 2, the second set here. Okay. Any questions on that piece right now?
I have a question. I don't know if this is like the best time to ask it, but it's on the priority 2 repairs. So I was looking at the list of repairs, and there was, if I counted it right, well, I don't know, I have numbers on here, but there was a considerable amount of priority 1 and 2 repairs to the old wood shop building, if I read it right. But if we demolish it, does that change the priority 2 amount?
So here is the list of the priorities. That's a good question, Ms. Donner. Where is Moriarty High School?
There. Right there. So there's one for priority 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one. And then
That
2
one right
more.
there.
Yeah.
lighting is broken.
So, but if we decide to demo it,
Yes.
then does that drop the priority 1 and 2 amounts?
We would take that money out of it and we would
Okay,
shift it
but
to.
that's not reflected.
Right, no.
Okay.
But that money could be shifted over
So we
to
would-
other lighting.
So we would still ask for that, but we would use it
Mhm.
for other things?
For general maintenance, for other roof repairs, right? We try to keep it in that category right there. That's what I would like to do.
Okay.
Roof repairs there and plumbing and plumbing fixtures, because plumbing and plumbing fixtures are pretty much throughout priority 2 in all the other buildings.
So could you move it, because all the priority 1s and 2s are on option 2, right? So could you move it to start working on some priority 3s? Because it's already covered in all the priority 1s and 2s are already covered on there, right?
Mr. Viviano?
Mhm.
Are the priority 2s on the list with the demo? Because the demo
Yes.
was part of the combining of the 2 schools.
No, it's still on here, right here, on the top of here.
Oh, they still left
Yeah.
that one on there?
Yeah, they still
Oh,
left
okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought they had removed that one also.
Yeah. I was just wondering if the amounts would change, because there's no point in having that part of the priority 1s and 2s on there if we're demoing it.
Mhm.
Right.
But then if all the other priority 1s and 2s are being taken care of, then you won't really need to shift that money to those, right?
Mhm.
So then you just move on to priority 3s?
And go down the list.
Are all priority 1s and 2s being met though on that?
Yes. Yeah. It's that whole list. And so, if I'm hearing you right, Ms. Donner, then we would add that balance, whatever this balance is. Did you have the balance there?
Yeah, if I added correctly, I had 431,123 for priority 2s for that building.
For that building alone, right?
And then the 7,446 for the priority 1s on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like 438, something, 439,000.
And then shift that to get as many of our priority 3s done
That's what we would do.
as possible. We can do that.
Okay. You don't have
If everyone agrees on that.
So then do you need to specify that though in the F&P so that
I would
the
send
amounts are
that,
correct?
I would send that to them tomorrow morning. I would send that tomorrow morning.
And I didn't add up all the other priority 1s and 2s to see if these were removed from there. I'm just assuming this is part of it because it's all in one document.
Yeah. Bold. Yeah, I didn't deal on that. So as we go down the list here again, there's priority 2s. What I like about the priority 2s, it does help us fund more parking lots, right? To get some of that work done, which is always a struggle to get parking lots repaved or resurfaced, like we did at Moriarty High School. And so, funding priority 2s, I like that. I really do like that piece. Anything else? I mean, I could scroll through this. Any other questions?
My big one was under the safety and security, the installation of cameras in all 6 schools. That covers the whole cost for doing all those, or was that a rough estimate?
Let me see that one again.
Number 3, option 3.
Number 3 right there, right? be a basic system
Okay.
for each one to start off with.
But the basic system would be sufficient.
To start off, yes.
Would it be more cost effective to get like a better one at the beginning than it would be to upgrade, or it's more cost efficient to upgrade from basic?
Yeah, you get, so you want to put more money into it?
So I'm saying take that money from the school, the priority 2 from the wood shop,
And
move it into better for interior of the schools, exterior of the schools, so the security system is better. I think that would be a better option than, taking care of some priorities 3. Can we ask? What do you guys say to?
Yeah, definitely.
Nothing?
You can't.
We can't really see what you're looking at, so.
So, the cost of priority 2 repairs to the old wood shop, there's extra savings, it looks like, that if the old wood shop is gonna be demolished, right? And there's extra money. The extra money gets shifted into putting them into, in particular, if I'm hearing you guys right,
Yeah.
cameras.
Over to the other one.
Cameras at all 6 schools,
To get better.
and to get the highest quality that we can get for that money.
Right, yeah.
Can we switch
Yeah,
to the
okay.
priority list?
That's it. Oh, priority list, sorry.
Yeah. So, at the high schools.
Sorry. There.
No, you're good.
Right there.
So like it has a $300, $100,000 for the roof, switch that over to better security for the schools.
Like at my site, I have to go into 3 different closets
Right.
to even look at stuff.
I know.
So he was saying update to a basic system. I'm saying take that money that we would be using for this and slide it over to better security. Instead of starting to take care of priority 3 items. That's why I was asking what you guys were
So
thinking.
prioritize the security over priority 3, is that what you're saying?
At least a little bit of it, maybe split it up a little bit. It matters how much we're looking at for what kind of upgrades we're getting, right? It all determines, right? Like if we say we want motion cameras in some certain places, that's gonna cost us an extra $100,000 for the schools or whatever. But then we can shift that 100,000 there and then shift the other 200,000 to priority 3.
First thing you have to do if you look at security cameras is to prioritize what is needed in each school and then what that's going to look like. Because just to say you have cameras in all the schools, I mean, we have a lot of cameras at the high school, but half of them don't record, half of them don't work.
How do you have a camera that doesn't record?
We have the parking lot camera doesn't record, it just is only a live camera. So, I mean, I think prioritizing what's needed in the main areas of each school, and the principals know that, like I would love to have a camera here, but I have 2 cameras where people walk in. You can look at them from this angle and you can look at them from this angle, but then I have no camera in my main hall. So just figuring out exactly where that is and what that would cost. It doesn't have to be extensive and cover every area of my campus, just the main areas that we know we deal with a lot of students or issues or we would like to have visibility at every day. And I know every principal could say the same thing about their school. And then that would cut the cost right there. Don't just go in and start replacing cameras or having somebody from maintenance say, oh, it'd be nice to have one there. Because I didn't have any say on where the cameras went in my schools. They're just put there. And they're at different corners and
So then I think what I'm hearing is that like on the FFP, it's just like 6 at this amount. But it might not necessarily be 6 at this amount. It varies per school.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we shift it around that way too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that amount
So that
might
amount.
not even be the amount.
No, that would be the amount, because you can still take it for, like, if the one elementary school needs to fix, I mean, you take the, what was it, $210,000 divided by 6, one school might get a little bit less, one school might get a little bit more,
Like
but,
it's 6 either way.
no, it's not, it's saying the 6 schools install cameras, it's not, they're not singular cameras, that's just a system.
But it's different than telling me.
That's what he's asking for, and that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So that,
6 sites.
But it's not, it doesn't have to be what it's like now. We have a ton of cameras, and most of those are never looked at. Most of the time, those are blank cameras with no students going in, or.
so you're asking just to prioritize it to make it to what's
Prioritize,
needed?
let's figure out, I mean, cost effectively, let's figure out exactly where they need to go, and then say, this is where we would like them on our campus, and then spend the money on that, instead of just saying, we're gonna put cameras in every school.
Right.
And somebody go do that and say, you're welcome to
Okay,
that camera.
so that portion of the old wood shop total, we can put it into the,
Are you guys okay with us doing that instead of priority 3? What do you guys say from the elementary schools? Because you just need them, you want to have a voice in it, you want to have a say that this is where we see our securities?
I think exactly what Rob is saying. I can attest to that.
Okay.
yeah, and I think that, so the process is not just to install them, it's to have consultation.
Optimize it.
Yeah,
Optimize
consultation and, yeah.
We were just talking, I mean, Joe and I were just talking, we have 3 cameras in the gym lobby. 95% of the time, that lobby is empty and there's nobody in there.
Right.
And when there are people there, there's a ton of people there, and if some big event, you know, a basketball game, if there was a fight or something happened there, then you would have access to that camera, but we've never, well, I know one incident, we did have to use one of those, but, the letter was drunk, but other than that, I don't know if we've ever used them, and there's 3 of them in there.
So you just want to optimize it?
Put one in there, and then let's use the other 2 somewhere else.
I have a question. If we decide to move this old woodshop funding over there, and then we end up not needing all of that or that, can we then shift it to other things at that point? Or like, once this is set, this is set?
Yeah, the FMP, so this is gonna be what we wanna get done priority wise. So let's say in 3 years, there's a grant that comes out and it pays all of our, you know what I mean, we can apply for it and pays, and that extra savings, you know, we could shift to somewhere else.
On the list.
On the list.
It has to be on the list.
On the list.
That's there.
Not necessarily this list, but it could be just a priority list. 2s or 3s, correct?
Yeah, so we can bring it up on, because if other things are getting done, then we just move it to the 2 to 3s.
Yeah. I just didn't want us, I didn't want to.
No,
I
see,
didn't-
so the PSFA wants us to submit our options and dollar figures to go with it, knowing that money would be shifted, as long as we're still within scopes that we have on our priority lists. Yeah. So, so we will have them shift money from the priority 2 woodshop list, I'll double check that.
Yeah.
And that money there go into, number 3.
Yeah, option number 3.
Number 3, in particular, the cameras, right?
Please.
Okay. Okay,
I'm good with that.
that's good.
Yeah, and I hope you don't mind me asking.
No, that's fine. The problem is, anything else with this second set of options? That's good.
I say good catch.
Yeah.
I'm
Good job.
like I said, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. We good with this?
I'm good with that.
And with that adjustment,
I am wholeheartedly.
for right now, going into the regular meeting?
Yeah. Because if we show that we're moving it into safety, I'm happy.
Right. Okay. All right. So I will just take about, well, I'll give us some time for bathroom breaks and stuff like that, all right? Before we get started?
Yep.
All right, I want to update the board members on the work so far on the strategic plan. And so with all the principals that are here today and the directors and our staff, I want to thank them once again for the work. We met this morning and we started about a little bit after 8 o'clock. And I'll come back to this, but I just wanted to scroll. This is the document so far. It's getting, there's a lot of spaces in here, right? So it might shrink up, but 20-some pages. Basically the process is we started, and we will name these focus areas, the student achievement, right? When the board met with Dr. Steinhaus, we called them goals. But these are going to be the focus areas with a specific goal to it, okay? Some of the goals we were able to write as a very specific SMART goal, and there were a few of these focus areas, a couple of them where to the board some more detail of putting a committee together and seeing what other schools in the state of New Mexico are offering as an alternative to what a traditional school looks like. Is that online learning? Is that more online? Is it night classes? Is it evening school? Is it flexibility in schedules? So we would just be doing the research this first semester, really, maybe first year. So in our second year, we could implement if we decided to move in additionally, right? So all of these goals and all of these action steps are for, even though it's a 3-year strategic plan, they're really geared to this year. And then we'll revisit it in the summer of next year and rework our action steps. And then finally, area 5, communication. We had adapt to community engagement. Improve and increase communication and community engagement as measured by participation in school-sponsored community events and communication surveys. And then the action steps were here. So I'll share this document with you, going into rough draft. Once we wrap up this next week and a half of school, give the principals a little time off.
They don't get a break.
We will bring them back. Yeah, we'll bring them back and start working and modifying what we need to get this for the June meeting to present to you, a little more fine-tuned in detail,
Okay.
with the hope that by July we can have a final version, right? A final version. So that'll give us a couple of months to get your input and to keep working on fine-tuning some of this for our first year. Okay? So it's great work, great work that we were very fortunate again to be led by Dr. Steinhaus, who led the community meetings, who led your meeting. So he's well versed in this instead of somebody different every time. And I'm very pleased on the outcome of today's work with the administrator. So that's that.
Yeah, I like one of the questions on there. It says, what brings the best MESD value? That was a good question.
Mm-hmm.
On one of the lower ones. I saw it and I liked it. I think it was the communication one.
I'm sorry, I went through. Yeah, I mean, whoa.
His section.
Something is going weird on that. But it's not letting me scroll. Nat, can you scroll down?
Yeah, it was in the communication and community engagement.
All the way down. There you go.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I skipped a step for the board to know. So Dr. Steinhaus worked on a few of these action steps to see what they might look like wording-wise with us. And then the principals and the directors broke up and they picked one of the focus areas. And they worked for about an hour typing out what they thought action steps needed to be this first year.
Yeah, it's that second, number 4 there, the third line, or the third box, it says
Mhm.
list what gives MESD value. I think that's appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be working on that. So Again, like Dr. Buckley and Mr. Adams, they went off and they worked on the wellness and safety one. I believe like Ms. Turner worked with Mr. Gaston Beatty and Mr. Romero on student engagement. And so they came up with great action plans, and then we came together as a group and went over all of them. So that's the work so far on the strategic plan. All right. All right. So with that, Madam President, I think we're done with our work session. We want to take a short break before we start our regular meeting at 6 o'clock.
We'll close our work session and take